This is DeadBeat and you're watching Transmit TV.
Hi, Scott.
Hello.
This is already being funny.
Yes.
So, please introduce yourself and tell us what are you doing.
My name is Scott Bonteith, and I've been making music under the name DeadBeat for 10 years. I also sometimes do a project called Crack House with my friend Steve.
Okay. That was quite short. So, I know that you are also cooperating with some artists. What preferences did it bring you to working with these artists? How come you're working together?
Collaboration with anybody, whether it's another musician or a video artist or anything like this, is always another cause for inspiration, and it's something that keeps things interesting and keeps things moving forward. So, of course, this is something that I like to do as often as possible.
When we're talking about your new album, you're here to promote your new album, and I read somewhere that this cooperation with Monolake made a certain influence, and that you can hear it on the album. So,
Robert has become a very good friend of mine, and we've had fortunately, I met Robert originally by sending him an email because I was a big Monolake fan, and was like, hey, I really like your music, and that's it. And through that started an email conversation, and eventually met for the first time at a music technology trade show that happens in California once a year called NAMM. From there, I've developed different ideas. We did a live over internet performance together called Atlantic Waves for a couple of years. And now, basically, anytime that we're playing at the same festival together, it usually ends up that we just end up playing together and just forget the single live shows. And yeah, so he's been a large influence both in terms of inspiration for ways of harnessing technology, and also an inspiration just in terms of playing with him because he's amazing and a really funny guy and a fantastic person to play with.
Cool, thanks. At a certain point of your life, you were working for a Montreal-based software producer. So how did you get there? How did this help you in your further development? Where did it bring you?
I applied for the job. The company is called Applied Acoustic Systems, and I applied to the job off of University of McGill, which is one of the big English universities in Montreal, off a job board for their computer engineering students that I happened to get a link to at some point. And at the time, they were looking for somebody to build their website. And I was starting to dabble a little bit with HTML and things like this, and was really into the idea of working for a music software company. So basically taught myself how to program quite well in HTML in about a week, and went into the interview and was like, hey, I can do this job for you. So yeah, at the beginning it was just building their website, but from there I went on to do tech support for their different products, as well as building instruments for one of their products, Tasman, which is a modular environment, and eventually to be like the marketing manager for the last year or so that I was there. And it was a huge influence because it was really, I never went to university for anything, but the things that I learned there about the really, really root levels of synthesis and sound design and the way that sound works on a very, very base level, right down to sine waves and math, have influenced a lot what I've done afterwards and really gave me a good base with which to build on.
So did this also bring you to start writing for Computer Music Magazine, or?
Indirectly, because there was one of the, obviously as the marketing manager for the company, one of the things that I was responsible for was making sure that the software was getting reviewed in all of the big music technology magazines. And Computer Music was obviously one of them. So the editor at the time, Ronan McDonald, I developed quite a relationship with. And then afterwards, when I finished at Applied Acoustics, I had sent him an email at the end of the time saying, hey, I'm leaving the company, like, thanks very much for all of your support, whatever. And Ronan had found out that I was working on music of my own, and he was, when Ableton 4 or 5 came out, he was like, hey, we're looking for somebody to do a review of this. We know that you're somebody who's using this all the time. Would you be into doing it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And that, whatever. I haven't written that much for them. It's only been, 5 or 6 articles at this point. But like, it's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's it's a lot of fun for sure.
In the wee hours of the morning, when everything is still, I lay staring at the darkness, trying to find the will, only to be plagued by roaches, scorpions, and mice. Not to mention politics, that's a big cockatrice. The light became morning, the morning became day. Speaking for myself, I wish the darkness had stayed.
started with this Ableton thing, and are you often making workshops? Like now in Zagreb, you made a workshop. Thank you very much. Is it like you're doing this often, and how did you connect with Ableton?
Well, that's again sort of an indirect Robert Henke connection, because Robert is one of the founders of Ableton. So as a result of my friendship with him, I had Ableton from the very, very first version and have been really, really current with the software and whatever. I mean, for my part, I've done a lot of talking to them about things that I would, in ways that I would like to see the software go, and commenting on ways that I think it could be improved. And it's the first software that I really sort of felt totally behind myself. And whatever, I mean, not just with whether you're talking about Ableton or Reactor or Taskman or like over the last years with the Red Bull Music Academy and at different festivals and things like that, I have had the opportunity to run these sort of more open format technology workshops, because at festivals that I've been to myself, one of the things that always bothered me about the more sort of technology end of things was that they really felt like kind of step-by-step tutorials, and there wasn't a lot of dialogue going on. It was really like, okay, now we're going to add a drum loop, and now we're going to add a filter, and all of this very sort of like, and there was it was really unorganic and really sort of formalized, and I think that festivals like Illectricity give a really interesting opportunity to present things in a much more organic and much more sort of communal way. I mean, whatever, the workshop or panel that we were supposed to have today ended up being 10 people, and it was fantastic, because it was just 10 people standing around and talking about things that they are interested in terms of technology, in terms of the music industry. And I think all of those sort of opportunities are the best ones that you can have.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how was it at the panel? Yeah, about the topic, so, but yeah.
Drinking beer, I mean, it was great.
Chilled out, how we like it. So, when did you move to Berlin, and was it like you thought there are better opportunities, or is it just the living which is cheaper? Or?
I mean, in terms of the cost of living in Montreal or Berlin is about the same, but it's really, in terms of opportunities, it's really it's like night and day. I mean, there's really electronic music never became sort of part of the fabric of North American cultural society. It's always been seen as something associated with obsessive drug use and after-hours things, and particularly, I mean, if you were to get political about the situation, you could almost say as well, or you could quite rightly say, that it's something that the society as a whole associates with the gay scene, and that offends the sort of typical kind of Christian values of the majority of Middle America. And as a result of that, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to make it as an electronic musician. I mean, obviously, yes, you can DJ, you can whatever, if you play enough clubs and whatever, that can be an option, but it's just not taken seriously in the same respect as it is in Europe. And that's one of the reasons that there's been a really mass exodus of North American electronic musicians to Europe.
And maybe you can describe us your style of music, and why does it sound like that? Or also, what can people expect from you today?
I mean, I would say generally speaking that everything that I do falls within the sort of dub blanket. It all has its roots in the first electronic experiments of the great Jamaican producers like Lee Perry and King Tubby. I've made a very conscious effort not to restrict myself to certain tempos or certain genres over the years. I'm really, really not into the idea of starting different projects for my dubstep thing, for my house thing, for the techno thing, for whatever. I think it's important to do it all under my own name and try and claim it all. And yeah, it's all dubby and all bassy, and it's all stuff that hopefully makes people feel good and want to dance, you know?
But there is a certain change, of course, and maybe what's different in this album in comparison to maybe last one, and does it have to do with the Berlin scene as well? How did this whole surrounding influence you?
For sure. I mean, I think for a lot of people that maybe were only exposed to the albums on Scape, were unaware of the fact that there's also, throughout the whole time that I was doing those albums, there's always been a couple of 12 inches a year that were more kind of techno house focused. But obviously those got a lot less press than the CDs did. Truthfully, I mean, the last years in Montreal, the electronic music scene was so small that I really sort of had lost touch with techno and house and more sort of like modern dance music, and moving to Berlin really sort of restored my faith in that. So obviously those rhythms have come back to the fore and are more prevalent. And for me, I mean, this Roots and Wire is really like the first album that brings together everything that I'm interested in, as opposed to the others, which were just sort of whatever, small parts.
And obviously, people, I think you have more and more audience. And I mean, you're here for the first time in Zagreb. I'm really happy, and I think it's like the right time has come, practically. So I think, yeah, you're pushing the things forward, definitely. And just tell me also, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's an incredible, we're at an incredible moment for bass music, for dub influenced music right now, and I think that like particularly, I mean, I would say generally in my experience that Eastern Europe is really the belly of the beast right now. This is really where all of the interesting shit and the best parties and like everything cool is happening, you know? And I think it's really, as I say, I mean, tonight I'm in Zagreb. In 1 week I'm in Budapest. The next week I'm in Ljubljana. After this I'm in Minsk, you know? And I think this really says something about where the future of things is happening, you know?
Well, thank you for sharing the vibe tonight. Thanks.